Today we are going to be combining rational expressions with addition and subtraction. Occasionally, it will be important to be able to combine two or more rational expressions by addition. Keep in mind two key principles that dictate fraction addition. Number one, fractions must have a common denominator. Number two, denominators can only be changed by multiplying the overall fraction by the number 1. So, let's look at exercise 1, problem A. Exercise 1, problem A, we have to get a common denominator. So, 6 and 4 both go into 12. So our common denominator will be 12x. Our numerator of our fraction has to do with what we have to multiply 4x by to get 12x. So to get 12x from 4x, we have to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. So we're going to multiply this and this by 3. To get 12x out of 6x, we have to multiply this numerator and denominator by the number 2. So distributing that 3 and distributing the 2, we get 6x minus 15 plus 8x plus 4. Now we want to simplify this fraction. So 6x plus 8x is 14x, and negative 15 plus 4 is negative 11. So that's all over 12x. For part B, our common denominator is going to be 10x. So the question I have to ask myself, what do I have to multiply 5x by to get 10x? Well, to get 10x out of 5x, you got to multiply by 2. So we have to do that to the numerator and the denominator. To get 10x in this denominator, we have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by x. So distributing the 2 and distributing the x, we get 8x minus 2 plus x squared plus 5x. Now we want to combine like terms here. So x squared, there's nothing to combine with that. 8x plus 5x is 13x. And then we still have the minus 2. Now x squared plus 3x minus 2 will not factor. So this is our final answer. Part C, 2 goes into 4, so we do need a 4 in our common denominator. X goes into x squared, so our common denominator is going to be 4x squared. So to get 4x squared out of 4x, we have to multiply this by x, which means we have to multiply that numerator by x. To get 4x squared out of this, we have to multiply by 2. So x times 3 is 3x plus 2 times 1, which is 2. And the numerator will not factor, so we are done. That's all there is to that one. Let's look at exercise. Well, let's read through this. Each of the combinations in exercise 1 should have been reasonably easy because each denominator was a monomial. It was monomial in nature. If this is not the case, then it is wise to factor the denominators before trying to find a common denominator. So let's look at exercise 2, number A, or letter A rather. Exercise 2, letter A. We've got 4 over 5y minus 15 plus 5 over y squared minus 9. Now, before we begin, let's factor both of those denominators. In the first denominator, we can factor out a 5. In the second denominator, this is the difference of two squares. So it's going to be y plus 3 times y minus 3. Now we can determine our common denominator. We need a 5. We need a y minus 3. And we need a y plus 3. So in order to get 5 times y minus 3 times y plus 3, we have to multiply this by y plus 3. And we have to do it in the numerator. Over here, we have to multiply top and bottom by 5. So for our numerator here, let's distribute this 4 and 4 times y is 4y. 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 5 is 25 over here. So now we can add the 12 and the 25. So we end up with 4y plus 37 over 5 times y minus 3 times y plus 3. And that's your final answer. Each factor that is different has to be part of the common denominator. All right, let's look at part B. Exercise 2, part B. The first thing we want to do is factor both denominators. So in this first denominator, we know we need an x and an x. We need two numbers that have a product of 20 and a sum of negative 9. So negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20, and negative 5 plus negative 4 is negative 9. Now we want to factor that second denominator. We know we need an x and an x. We need two numbers that have a product of 8 and a sum of negative 6. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8, and negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6. So there are our factors. So now we have to determine what our common denominator is going to be. We know we need an x minus 5 and an x minus 4. We already have an x minus 4, so now we need an x minus 2. So in order to get this denominator from this, we have to multiply top and bottom by x minus 2. To get this denominator from this, we have to multiply top and bottom by x minus 5. So now for our numerator, we need to distribute, this isn't distribute, we need to FOIL this out, this numerator. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. Over here, we are going to distribute. So 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So now, combining like terms, we get x squared minus 3x minus 4 divided by x minus 5 times x minus 4 times x minus 2. And we're done with that. Oh wait, we're not done. We gotta factor this numerator. We know we need an x and an x. We need two numbers that have a product of negative 4 and a sum of negative 3. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, and negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. I'm just going to rewrite the denominator. And notice the x minus 4's cancel. So now we're done. So our final answer is going to be x plus 1 over x minus 5 times x minus 2. All right, now let's look at subtraction. So let's turn that paper over. Subtraction of rational expressions is especially challenging because of errors that naturally arise when students forget to distribute the subtraction or the multiplication by -1. Still, with careful execution, these problems are no different than their addition counterparts. Let's look at exercise number 3. Perform each of the following subtraction problems. Express your answers in simplest form. So let's start with exercise A. So we got 3x plus 7 over x squared minus 4 minus x squared minus x plus 3 over x squared minus 4. So the first thing we want to do is factor. So notice this numerator cannot factor, but this denominator can factor. It is the difference of two squares. So x plus 2 times x minus 2. We're subtracting. So this is going to be, this is also the difference of two squares. X plus 2 times x minus 2. So notice, let's see, when we subtract x, that's going to be minus x. When we subtract 3, that's going to be a minus 3. So this is going to be 3x plus 7, that changes to plus, 3x plus 7 minus x minus 3. And that is over x plus 2 times x minus 2. Notice we already had a common denominator. So 3x minus x is going to be 2x. 7 minus 3 is going to be 4. And now let's factor that numerator. So 2 times x plus 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 2 is 4. X plus 2 times x minus 2. So the x plus 2's cancel. And your final answer for that one is 2 over x minus 2. All right, part B. Okay, let's go ahead and factor these denominators. 4x squared minus 1 is the difference of two squares. So the square root of 4x squared is 2x. So we want 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. Let's call this plus a negative 2. So we're going to put the negative 2 up there. Here in this denominator we can factor out a 5. So 5 times 2x plus 1 is that denominator. 5 times 2x is 10x, and 5 times 1 is 5. Now we need to determine our common denominator. So we need one of each of these factors in the denominator. So we need a 5, we need a 2x plus 1, and we need a 2x minus 1. Now to get this denominator from this, we got to multiply top and bottom by 5. To get this denominator to look like this denominator, we got to multiply top and bottom by 2x minus 1. Alright, so let's distribute over here. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Now let's distribute this negative 2. Negative 2 times 2x is a negative 4x. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. So now we can combine like terms. So we want 5x minus 4x, which is 1x. And then negative 15 plus 2, which is negative 13. And this is going to be divided by 5 times 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1. So this is our final answer. All right, 2 more examples. Starting with C. Hopefully you're starting to recognize the difference of two squares. So this first denominator is going to become x plus 2 times x minus 2. Let's add a negative 6, put our negative up there so we won't forget it. And then let's factor x squared plus 8x minus 20. We know we need an x and an x. Now we need two numbers that have a product of negative 20 and a sum of 8. So 10 times negative 2 is negative 20, and 10 minus 2 is 8. Now we need a common denominator. So we know that we need an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. And we also need an x plus 10. To get this denominator to look like this, we need to multiply by x plus 10 on the numerator and the denominator. So x times x is x squared. X times 10 is 10x. To get this denominator to look like this one, we need to multiply by x plus 2. So distributing that -6. -6 times x is -6x. -6 times 2 is -12. So combining like terms, we need x squared plus 4x minus 12. And that's over x plus 2 times x minus 2 times x plus 10. Now let's factor this numerator. We know we need an x and an x. We need two numbers that have a product of -12 and a sum of 4. So -2 times 6 is -12, and -2 plus 6 is +4. So we can cancel out the x minus 2's, and we're left with x plus 6 divided by x plus 2 times x plus 10. Oh, I kind of took up all the space for this problem right there. Let's go ahead and look at exercise number 4. Exercise number 4. What would our common denominator be for these two? Well, we need an x and we need an x minus 1. So to get this denominator to look like this, we need to multiply top and bottom by x. To get this denominator to look like this one, we're going to multiply top and bottom by x minus 1. So that gives us x. Oh, and let's make this a plus a -1. So -1 times x is -x. -1 times -1 is +1. So this simplifies to 1 over x times x minus 1. And if you wanted, you could call this 1 over x squared minus x. So there's that. Let me get an extra sheet of paper. Actually, let me write D over here. Last example. Woohoo! All right, we want to factor that denominator. So let's start with an x and an x. Two numbers that have a product of 4 and a sum of 5. That would be 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 plus 4 is 5. Let's change subtraction to addition and change that 8 to negative. For this denominator, we need an x and an x. Two numbers that have a product of 32 and a sum of 12. 8 times 4 is 32, and 8 plus 12, or 8 plus 4 is 12. So our common denominator is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 4 times x plus 8, and we already have an x plus 4. So to get this denominator to look like this, we have to multiply by x plus 8. To get this denominator to look like this, we have to multiply by x plus 1. Alright, so to FOIL over here, we need x squared. We need negative 2x. We need an 8x. And we need 8 times negative 2, which is negative 16. Here, negative 8 times x is negative 8x, and negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. Combining like terms, we get x squared minus 2x minus 24 over x plus 1 times x minus 4 times x plus 8. Now we need to factor that numerator. So we need two numbers that have a product of negative 24 and a sum of negative 2. So negative 6 times positive 4 is negative 24, and negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So we can cancel out oops, there's a plus 4. We can cancel out the x plus 4s. And we are left with x minus 6 over x plus 1 times x plus 8. All right. You are going to be successful. It's going to be awesome. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.